very pleased to be interviewing Steve McGowan, who is Senior Vice President Research for Discovery. Steve, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Charlene. Good to be here.
Let's start with your background. How did you get to where you are today?
I spent a few years in Washington, D.C. working in public television, working for the National Association of Broadcasters, and then in 1989 saw this little ad in broadcasting and cable for this new upstart network called the Discovery Channel. Went over there and became the first person working in the corporate office over in Landover, Maryland, and spent the next 12 and a half years as we acquired networks. I was able to rise through the ranks and added responsibilities as we built Discovery Channel, TLC, Animal Planet, Travel Channel, Discovery Health, and on and on.
And then from Discovery?
Discovery, from there I left in early 2003 and had the opportunity to work for the Nielsen Company in the New York office, and sort of became this utility infielder, being able to work on new projects such as DVR reporting and also looking at video on demand and portable video devices. And I did that for 6 years and had the opportunity this past summer in July to return back to Discovery Communications.
So you have a very unique perspective on Discovery, having seen it when it first started.
We've been able...
No, I was going to say, and leaving and then coming back and seeing it now as this huge conglomerate. How would you say it's changed? Have the processes changed? Has the approach to research changed?
Well, like much of the industry, we've seen fragmentation continue to take hold. There are more and more channels, but I think Discovery, the company, has done a great job of focusing on the brands. They understand why viewers love the channels and have loved them for close to 25 years now as Discovery approaches its silver anniversary. But that combination of being able to enlighten as well as entertain its viewers has really been a hallmark, and those have been characteristics that they've focused on. Since they've gone public, of course, there's greater scrutiny, and lots of companies, they take risks and try to do new ventures and things, and Discovery is no different in that effort.
And your time at Nielsen, you had an opportunity to work with DVR and VOD. What takeaways did you learn from Nielsen about these new platforms and devices?
Well, at the time, DVRs were being excluded from the sample because Nielsen didn't have the metering capabilities in order to do it. I think it coincided, the introduction of DVRs in the Nielsen panel coincided with the time that the cable operators began deploying their own boxes. So it was, I think, a good time for the whole industry to begin to measure and credit and now figure out how to buy and sell using that dynamic of time-shifted viewing.
How do you think DVRs will evolve with viewer usage? Do you think it will reach critical mass?
I think it'll be interesting to see that there are these DVRs at the head end, so that people perhaps that are intimidated by technology and maybe are more comfortable with using video on demand. It'll be interesting to see how those take root. I mean, there's been lots of speculation and legal proceedings back and forth, but I don't know until the MSOs find a way to basically give that box away. We see DVR penetration starting to level off. People that understand what the capabilities are of the box. I mean, they're refining the way they use it, having to figure out how to share the hard drive across all the different members of their family. But it becomes a more and more critical way and a tool that viewers can use in figuring out what they want to watch. I mean, they've been saying since the early 1990s, and probably even before that they always wanted to watch what they want, when they want, and now we're hearing where they want, and some of that's beginning to take hold too.
So, and what type of research did you do on VOD while at Nielsen?
Video on demand was something that we started doing some primary research studies. So we would do some phone studies and some online things. We started to ask, before we got the data from the cable operators looking at their file server data, it was attitudinal and usage studies, reported use of VOD. And I juxtaposed that with DVRs, trying to figure out if one of those technologies would surpass the other. And what we found is that you had a certain camp that was more loyal to their DVRs and others that had VOD just because it was an easier technology to understand. You hit that menu button and you might not always remember what you wanted to record, or depending on what the content is, like music videos and some other programs from networks you might not even get, that you wouldn't even think to record them. So we found this sort of mixed reaction to the two. And then as Nielsen was able to improve its measurement and its metering technology, we figured out ways that we could track playback of video on demand. And in particular, we worked very closely with HBO, who is probably the preeminent driver of video on demand content with all of the offerings that they give to their subscribers.
Did you see a difference in the demo profile of a DVR user versus a VOD user in this study?
As we looked at those that had access to either technology, what we tended to find that the DVR home, not surprisingly, was a bit more upscale. Both of them tended to have digital cable because that was the requirement. You needed to have one of those boxes in that tier of service. But because the incremental cost of the DVR service was anywhere from $10 to $20, we found that the DVR homes tended to be more upscale, more technologically oriented perhaps. They knew how to use the device. But those were the main differences.